It was a Friday in early spring. Her promotion party. The rooftop bar glowed gold against the city lights, and she looked every bit the rising star. Tailored red dress, champagne glass in hand, that smile she saved for strangers. I stood in the back, proud, stupidly proud, watching her laugh with people who didn't even know my name. I thought we were celebrating us. Turns out, we were celebrating them. "Evan," she said, weaving through the crowd toward me, tipsy and glowing. "Don't just stand there looking awkward. Mingle. You look like my accountant." "I'm your husband," I said with a small smile. "Isn't that worth a title upgrade?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't start, okay? This is my night." Then her boss, Daniel, walked up. Perfect teeth, perfect suit, the kind of guy who never looks sweaty, even in July. He put his hand on the small of her back like he owned the space. "You're the lucky husband," he said, offering his hand. His smile was charming, effortless. "You must be proud of her." I shook his hand. "I am." But he didn't let go. Just smiled at me like he knew something I didn't. Later, while everyone toasted her success, I caught them laughing in the corner, his hand brushing her arm again. She didn't flinch, didn't pull away. I told myself I was imagining it. That's what loyal husbands do. They rewrite what they see until it doesn't hurt anymore. That night, after everyone left, I asked her about it. She laughed, and said, "Oh, come on, Evan. Don't be jealous. Daniel's my boss, not my boyfriend." Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Besides, you should be grateful. I'm the only reason you even get invited to places like that. Without me, no woman would even notice you." That line, that's the one that burned. I didn't yell. I didn't slam a door. I just said, "Good night," and went to bed. 2 weeks later, I found the messages. Her phone lit up while she showered. "Can't stop thinking about last night," it said. From Daniel. There were photos, hotel receipts, the kind of proof that punches the air out of your lungs. She didn't even deny it. "I'm not happy, Evan," she said, like it was a reasonable explanation for destroying a marriage. "You're comfortable, predictable. I want more. I deserve more." That was the night she told me I couldn't live without her. She said it soft, almost pitying, as she packed her suitcase. "You'll see," she whispered. "No one else will ever want a man like you." I watched her walk out of our apartment, her heels clicking like a countdown, and I swore I'd never let her be right. The next morning, I didn't call her. I didn't beg. I opened my laptop and started gathering every text, every email, every photo. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I just wanted the truth in my hands, the proof of what she'd done. Because one day, she'd regret it. And when that day came, I wanted her to choke on her own words. She said I couldn't live without her. She had no idea what I could live through. 3 days after she left, I stopped wearing my wedding ring. I didn't throw it away. I put it in a small box in my desk drawer, right next to the screenshots. Proof. Evidence. Pain neatly organized into folders. My version of closure, or maybe ammunition. Everyone at work had heard. News travels fast in a small office. People tried to be kind, too kind. The half-sympathetic smiles, the awkward, "You holding up okay, man?" I nodded, said I was fine. But I wasn't fine. I was fuel. I spent my evenings alone, digging deeper. Phone records, receipts, calendar entries she forgot to delete. It didn't take long to connect the dots. They'd been sneaking around for months. Business trips that weren't business, team dinners that were really dates. The first time they slept together, I was out of town visiting my mother. I found the hotel confirmation in her email. Same night, same city, different beds. That was when I decided she wasn't going to get away clean. See, my wife, ex-wife-to-be, wasn't just having an affair. She was having one with her boss. The same boss whose signature was on her promotion paperwork. That wasn't love. That was leverage. And I knew exactly what to do with that. I reached out to someone I used to play poker with, Mark. He worked in IT security. A little shady, but smart. "I need some help," I told him. "I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I just need backup." He grinned. "Backup as in proof." "Exactly." He looked at me for a moment. "You're not the revenge type, Evan." "I wasn't," I said. "Now I am." Over the next few weeks, Mark helped me collect everything. Metadata from photos she posted on social media, timestamps that matched business travel, internal company emails that hinted at favoritism. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break the law. I just watched, waited, documented. Meanwhile, she started flaunting him. They showed up at the same networking events. Her friends accidentally tagged them in photos together. One caption read, "Power couple goals." The irony almost made me laugh. I found out about the promotion party a month later, a big one. Company-wide. Champagne, lights, speeches. The invitation was public on the firm's website, celebrating our newest senior marketing director, Julia Bennett. My Julia. The same event where she'd humiliated me once before. This time, I'd be there too, but on my terms. I asked Mark for one last favor. Can you help me put together something visual? Simple. Clean. Something that makes a point. He raised an eyebrow. You're planning something dramatic, aren't you? Just the truth, I said. That's all I want to show. He smiled. The truth, huh? That's always the loudest kind of revenge. I spent the next week building the presentation. Not photos, not gossip, facts. Dates. Messages. Hotel receipts. The timeline of their affair lined up perfectly with her rise in the company. Every promotion. Every business trip. All there. I wasn't just exposing a cheater. I was exposing corruption. The night before the party, she called me. Out of nowhere. Her number lit up my screen like a ghost. I let it ring twice before answering. Evan, she said softly. How are you? Never better, I said. How's Daniel? Silence. Then, you don't have to be cruel. You're right, I said. I don't. She sighed. Look, I just wanted to say I hope you're doing okay. You deserve someone who. Stop. My voice was calm, even. You don't get to narrate my healing. Click. That night, I printed her words. You'll never live without me. I folded the paper, tucked it in my pocket, and looked in the mirror. Tomorrow, she'd see exactly how wrong she was. Because tomorrow, I was going to walk into that party, the same place she once told the world she'd outgrown me, and let everyone see who she really was. And when the truth hit the screen, I wasn't going to say a single word. The evidence would do all the talking. The night of the promotion party, I wore the same suit I'd worn to our wedding. Fitted, navy blue, a little tighter now around the shoulders. I looked in the mirror before leaving and almost didn't recognize myself. Calmer, sharper. The kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly what's about to happen. The event was held at the same rooftop bar as last time. It almost felt like a cruel déjà vu. The golden lights, the laughter, the same skyline that used to feel like ours. Now it was just hers. And soon, it wouldn't even be that. I arrived quietly, blending in with the crowd of coworkers and plus ones. No one recognized me at first, not until I caught her eye across the room. Julia froze mid-laugh. Her champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. For a split second, she looked nervous. Then she forced a smile and started walking toward me. Evan, she said, her voice low, careful. What are you doing here? Supporting the woman who told me I couldn't live without her. I said. You invited me, remember? I gestured toward the open event page on my phone. Public invitation. Her jaw tightened. You need to leave. This isn't the time. Oh, it's exactly the time. Before she could respond, her boss, Daniel, appeared beside her, hand at her waist, that same smug expression that had haunted me for months. Is there a problem here? He asked, all corporate politeness. Not at all, I said. Actually, I brought something to celebrate your teamwork. He frowned. Julia's face went pale. When the speeches began, I waited. I stood near the back as Daniel took the mic, smiling for the cameras, bragging about integrity, vision, and the company's commitment to professionalism. Every word tasted like poison. Then it was Julia's turn. She thanked everyone for believing in her, for helping her reach this milestone. She talked about how hard work pays off. And that's when I stepped forward. Excuse me, I said, my voice cutting clean through the music. Heads turned. The microphone squealed slightly as I walked up to the projector. Sorry to interrupt, but I think there's one more thing everyone should see. Julia's eyes widened. Evan, don't. Too late. I connected the USB drive to the laptop and pressed play. The screen lit up with emails, messages, and photos, all neatly arranged by date. Her name, his name, hotel confirmations matching business trips, company credit card charges, texts that left no room for doubt. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Daniel's face drained of color. Julia tried to speak, but her voice cracked. This is private. Was it private? I said. When you told me no one would ever want me? Or when you let him promote you while you were sharing his bed? Security moved toward me, But they didn't touch me. Nobody did. Everyone just watched the screen, watched her career and her mask crumble in real time. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I simply turned to her and said, "You were right about one thing, Julia. I couldn't live without the truth. Now I've got it." Then I walked out into the night, leaving behind applause that wasn't for her anymore, and silence that told me everything I needed to know. I thought revenge would feel like victory. It didn't. It felt like peace. And for the first time in years, I slept easy. The morning after the rooftop party, the world looked painfully ordinary. Cars honked. Coffee smelled the same. People hurried to work, like nothing had happened. But inside, something had shifted. The part of me that used to wait for her approval was gone. I quit my job that week. I didn't want to sit under fluorescent lights pretending to care about someone else's deadlines. I used the small savings I had, and a little stubborn pride, to lease a narrow storefront downtown. Faded paint, cracked tiles, perfect for starting over. I turned it into a small marketing studio for local craftsmen, the kind of people who built things with their hands. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Each day I scrubbed the walls, repainted, replaced the light fixtures. Every stroke of the brush felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. No one told me what to do, how to dress, or who to be. I worked 12-hour days, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped. That's when I met Lauren. She owned the cafe across the alley, Brewed Awakening. Paint on her jeans, hair tied up messily, eyes that looked like they'd seen both laughter and loss. She brought me a coffee one morning and said, "You're the guy who exposed corporate scandal at that party, right?" I groaned. That's one way to put it. She laughed, soft but honest. "Good for you. Someone needed to." From then on, she'd bring me breakfast sandwiches when I forgot to eat. I'd help her fix things around her cafe, leaky pipes, flickering lights, small exchanges that turned into conversations, then late nights sitting on milk crates outside, talking about the kind of lives we used to imagine for ourselves. One evening, she mentioned she was close to Julia's sister. Vanessa, my ex's sister. I tensed up, but Lauren waved it off. "Don't worry," she said. "I've seen what your ex did. I'm not in her fan club." Lauren had a way of grounding me. She didn't ask what happened. She already knew the kind of pain that makes you rebuild quietly. When she smiled, it wasn't pity, it was recognition. Two people who had both survived something and still believed in better days. Months passed. My studio started getting clients. Word of mouth. Small businesses that appreciated honesty more than image. The cafe and I even partnered on weekend markets. I watched Lauren manage her little empire with messy grace, and before I knew it, she was the first person I thought of every morning. Then, one night, my phone buzzed. Julia. Her name on the screen almost looked foreign. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Evan," she whispered, voice trembling. "I made a mistake. Daniel's gone. Everything's falling apart. Can we talk?" I looked around my studio, the fresh paint, the framed projects, the life I'd built without her. Lauren's laughter echoed from the cafe next door. "I don't think there's anything left to talk about," I said. "Please, Evan. I miss you." I took a long breath. "You were right," I said softly. "I can live without you." Then I hung up. Outside, the lights from Lauren's cafe spilled onto the sidewalk, warm and inviting. I walked over, and she looked up from behind the counter. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said, smiling for real this time. "Everything's finally okay." And for the first time since my world fell apart, I wasn't proving anything to anyone. I was just living, free, steady, and loved again. Julia's name started popping up in the news 2 weeks later, not because of me, but because of the fallout. Someone inside her company leaked an internal audit. Turns out, Daniel had been funneling contracts through dummy vendors, using company funds for his client retreats. She was listed on a few of the transactions. Whether she knew or not didn't matter. Her promotion was revoked, and her reputation vanished overnight. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even post about it. I just read the article once, closed my laptop, and went back to work. Peace doesn't always come from payback. Sometimes it's just the quiet satisfaction of seeing the truth finish what you started. Lauren heard before I did. She walked into my office with 2 coffees and said, "Your ex just made headlines. Guess Karma drinks espresso now." I laughed for the first time in days. Guess she's finally learning what accountability tastes like. Business picked up fast that month. My studio's first campaign went viral. Not flashy viral, but meaningful. A local bakery we'd promoted sold out every weekend. A craftsman I helped with branding landed a regional feature. People started calling me the honest marketer. I like that. I built something clean out of something dirty. Lauren and I grew closer without labeling it. We'd spend late nights in her cafe after closing, candles flickering on the tables, the hum of the refrigerator filling the pauses. Sometimes we'd talk about what hurt us. Other nights, we just existed quietly, side by side. No fixing, no rescuing, just living. One Friday night, she asked, "Do you ever think about what you'd say to her if she showed up right now?" I thought about it. Julia's face. Her arrogance. The way she said I'd crumble without her. "Yeah," I said finally. "I'd thank her." Lauren raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For leaving. For breaking me just enough to rebuild right." Lauren smiled. That slow, knowing kind of smile that feels like sunlight after rain. "You really are different now." "I had to be," I said. Otherwise, she'd still own me. We started seeing each other outside of work. Farmers markets, quiet dinners, even one awkward bowling night where I discovered she was fiercely competitive and terrible at losing. She laughed so hard she nearly fell over, and in that moment, I realized something. I hadn't thought about Julia in weeks. Not once. Months passed. My business moved into profit. The cafe doubled in customers. And somewhere between laughter and late-night coffees, I fell in love again. Slowly, safely, the way healing is supposed to happen. Then one evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered out of habit. "Evan." A familiar voice. "Fragile." "It's me, Julia." Before I could hang up, she said, "I saw you online. With her. You look happy." "I am," I said. "I made everything worse, didn't I?" Her voice broke. "I lost everything. Daniel, my job, my friends. I just thought maybe you could forgive me." I let the silence stretch. The city buzzed outside, the smell of coffee still lingering from Lauren's cafe. "I already did," I said finally. "Forgiving you was the only way I could move on. Can we talk? Just once?" "No, Julia," I said softly. "Some chapters close for a reason." Then I hung up. I turned, and Lauren was there in the doorway, smiling quietly. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, taking her hand. "Everything's finally exactly where it should be." And for the first time in my life, I didn't look back. It was almost a year to the day since the rooftop party when Julia showed up. I didn't recognize her at first. She was thinner, tired-looking, like someone who'd been living on too much caffeine and regret. She stood outside my studio window in the drizzle, clutching a soaked umbrella and a nervous smile. Lauren saw her first. "There's someone out front asking for you," she said. "She looks like a ghost that knows your name." I stepped outside. Julia's eyes found mine instantly, the same blue that used to make me forget logic. "Not anymore." "Evan," she said, voice shaky. "Can we talk?" I almost said no. But something in her eyes, not hope, not manipulation, just exhaustion, made me nod toward the alley. 5 minutes. We stood beneath the awning, rain hitting the pavement between us. "I wanted to see you," she started. "To say I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked quietly. "The affair, the lies, or the way you tried to convince me I was worthless?" She flinched. "All of it. I was angry. Lost. Daniel promised me the world, and when it fell apart, I realized I'd burned down the only real thing I ever had." "That's the problem, Julia," I said. "You never wanted real. You wanted shiny. You wanted someone to build your pedestal for you." Her lip trembled. "I was wrong about you. About everything. You've built this whole new life, and she stopped. Her eyes flicked toward the cafe across the street where Lauren stood behind the counter, laughing with a customer. "Is that her?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. "She used to be my sister's best friend," she whispered. "You really moved on, didn't you?" "I didn't move on," I said. "I grew up." She wiped her eyes, smudging mascara across her cheek. "Can we start over? Maybe not as whatever we were, but as friends? You were my home once, Evan." I took a slow breath. "Home isn't a person, Julia. It's the peace you make after the storm. And I already have mine." She swallowed hard, nodding, eyes filling again. "I told you no woman would ever want you," she said softly. "I can't believe I said that." "You were right about one thing," I said, managing a small smile. "No woman would want the man I was back then. But I'm not him anymore." For a moment, we just stood there, two people who had shared everything and now had nothing left to say. I hope you're happy, she whispered. I am, I said simply. She gave a tiny nod, turned, and walked away into the rain, shrinking into the gray distance until she disappeared completely. I went back inside, dripping on the floorboards. Lauren looked up from behind the counter. Old ghosts, she asked. Yeah, I said, exhaling. But they're finally gone. Lauren smiled, sliding a mug toward me. Then let's make new memories. Warm ones. I sat down across from her, wrapped my hands around the cup, and realized something simple but powerful. Closure doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes, it's just the quiet knowledge that you survived someone's worst and still became better. And in that quiet cafe, with rain tapping the windows and laughter echoing through the air, I finally believed it. I had proven her wrong. Completely. Life after Julia felt different, not empty, not bitter, just open. Like the silence after a storm, when the air smells cleaner, when the world feels reset. Lauren and I never made a big announcement. We didn't need to. It just happened naturally. Her toothbrush on my bathroom sink, my jacket hanging by her cafe door. It wasn't dramatic. It was easy. That was new for me. Loving someone without walking on eggshells. My studio was thriving. We had a small team now. 2 designers, 1 intern, and an office dog named Bruno that Lauren insisted we adopt because every good business needs a mascot. We worked with small brands, real people, artisans, local coffee roasters, mom-and-pop shops who couldn't afford glossy marketing but deserved to be seen. I found meaning in that. Sometimes I catch myself looking around at my life, the laughter, the chaos, the smell of coffee and fresh paint, and think, this is what she said I'd never have. I didn't live for revenge anymore. That part of me had burned away. But I couldn't help noticing the irony when I heard that Julia had moved out of the city. Word was, she was working for a small PR agency up north, trying to rebuild. Good for her, I thought. Everyone deserves a chance to learn from their wreckage. I just didn't know her front row seats to mine. One Saturday, Lauren and I hosted a community market together. Local artists, live music, kids with sticky fingers chasing balloons. She was running around with a clipboard, sunlight in her hair, yelling over the crowd. Evan, stop checking emails and help me hang this banner. I laughed, grabbed the ladder, and did as told. Halfway through, she looked up at me, smiling in that way that still caught me off guard. You know, she said, you're not bad at this whole happy thing. Yeah, I said. Think I'm getting the hang of it. Maybe, she teased. You just needed the right coach. When the market wrapped up, the sun dipped low over the river, painting everything in gold. Families packed up booths, the smell of roasted coffee lingered, and I realized how far I'd come. I wasn't the man who stared at his phone waiting for an apology that would never come. I was someone new, someone who built rather than begged. Later that night, we sat on the cafe patio with 2 glasses of wine and a box of pastries that hadn't sold. Lauren rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, You ever think about the night you exposed her? Sometimes, I admitted, but not for the reasons you'd think. Regret it. No, I said. It wasn't about revenge. It was about ending a lie. I just didn't realize that night was also the beginning of my truth. She smiled and kissed my cheek. Then I'm glad she lied, she said softly, because it led you here. I looked at her, at the lights reflecting in her eyes, and realized she was right. Every heartbreak, every insult, every sleepless night had carried me here, to this quiet, imperfect, beautiful peace. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was surviving my past. I was living my future. It's strange how peace sneaks up on you. One day you wake up and realize the pain that used to live in your chest has turned into something quieter, like a scar you can touch without flinching. 2 years had passed since the rooftop party. 2 years since I watched my old life collapse so I could build a better one. And on that warm spring evening, standing under an arch of lights behind Lauren's cafe, I was about to marry the woman who helped me remember what kindness looked like. It wasn't a grand wedding. Maybe 40 people, all faces that had shown up for the rebuild instead of the ruin. My parents were there, her friends from the cafe, my small crew from the studio. Even Bruno had a tiny bow tie. The air smelled like espresso and lilacs. Lauren walked down the aisle barefoot, laughing when the wind caught her hair. She didn't look perfect. She looked real. That's what I loved most. When she reached me, she whispered, You ready for forever? I smiled. I already started. We exchanged vows, simple, honest, ours. There were no promises of perfection, just a promise to stay when things got messy, to tell the truth even when it hurt. When we kissed, people clapped, and someone popped champagne. The world felt smaller and safer all at once. After the ceremony, while the band played soft jazz, I stepped outside to breathe. That's when I saw her. Julia. She stood on the sidewalk across the street, in a pale gray coat, hands clenched around a clutch. For a moment, time folded, two worlds colliding, the man I was and the man I'd become. She didn't try to come closer. She just watched. I walked over, slow and steady. Didn't expect to see you here, I said. I heard, she said softly. From Vanessa. About the wedding. I just wanted to see you happy. I am, I said, and it was the truest thing I'd ever spoken. Her eyes glistened. You look different. Stronger. I had to be. She nodded, biting her lip. I meant what I said, you know. Back then. About no woman wanting you. It was cruel, but it came from my own misery. I studied her. The regret, the fatigue, the way she looked smaller now. You were right, though. She blinked. What? You said I couldn't live without you. I smiled. Not mocking, not angry, just peaceful. You were right. I can live without you. Her eyes filled, and she gave a small, broken laugh. I guess you can. I hope you find something real, Julia, I said quietly. Something honest. Everyone deserves that. She nodded, turned, and walked away. No drama. No shouting. Just an ending that finally felt clean. I stood there a moment longer, watching her disappear down the street. Then Lauren's laughter drifted from behind me. Warm, bright, pulling me back to the life I chose. I turned, slipped my ringed hand into my pocket, and whispered to myself, you were right. I can live without you. And with that, I walked back into the light, into music, laughter, and a future built entirely from the pieces she left behind. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be. Dear listeners, our story has come to an end. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments.